If you love history, traditional arts and skills, and vintage living as much as I do, come join me here at the Homestead, where the conversations are always interesting and educational. I'm glad you're here. Hello and welcome to Willa's Vintage Homestead, where we talk about all manner of old-timey topics. I'm your host, Willa Polson, and with me today is John Ramirez, who I am thrilled to have on because not only is he a storyboard artist and animator for Disney, but also designs award-winning Rose Parade floats. And anyone who has listened to this show in the past knows that I'm an absolute Rose Parade nerd. So I'd love to talk about both of those topics. How you doing, John?
I'm good, thank you. Nice to be here.
All right, so I have to start with the Rose Parade. Okay, so
Nerd alert.
right, super nerdler. But yeah, I've seen various iterations of going from your drawing to the finished thing, and sometimes they're not always quite what you really want them to be in the
Right.
end. They don't quite turn out, but sometimes they're like, oh, that's just like the drawing. So tell us about the process and how you got started and just everything about it. Go.
So the funny thing is, I was brought into this company called Artistic Entertainment Services, or AES, just as the former designer was retiring. So the first thing he told me was, don't expect the floats to turn out exactly as you drew them.
Okay, good.
Unless you're building them yourself. So I always remembered that. And having already been a designer for theme park projects around the world, I was used to it.
Aha, we'll touch on that in a second.
So really what I feel my job is as a Rose Parade float designer, I'm the first one with the baton in a relay race. And I'll come out with what I think the concept should look like, and also based on what our clients want.
Sure, sure.
And very often the clients don't know how to think in terms of a Rose Parade float because
Mm,
essentially we're telling a story in one image and it goes by in front of the audience,
hmm
less than a minute, and then they're turning to look down the street at what's coming up next.
Right. And it's one three-dimensional image, so it's got to look good from
Yeah,
all angles.
right. And, very often, we're told it's okay to favor the camera side,
hmm
which can sometimes make it easy because then we don't have to worry about so often what's on the off camera side. But,
Right,
a
right.
good float is going to have great elements on both sides. And that's really the struggle, not necessarily, the elements of, whatever story we're telling on the float, because very often client will say, well, we want to highlight this part of our organization or the good works that we're doing, and that makes that's half the battle.
Right, right, right. And there's always the annual theme too.
Yes, which my boss told me to ignore completely.
Oh, should I cut
Uh,
that part out?
no, because very often too the clients have an idea of what they want to promote, or an
hmm
organization has something that they want to everyone to know about, and we have to figure out how to make that tie into a theme. And sometimes it's merely just the name on the float that
Right,
ties into the
gotcha.
theme of the parade. Now, this year for 2026, I should say, next year, the theme was working together, or
Okay.
something like that. And that theme was chosen before we had our horrific fires in Altadena and
Oh,
Pacific Palisades,
right, right.
right, where people really did come together,
hmm
to save their homes, to save their neighbors, and to help each other
hmm
after it was all over. So it was a very poignant theme for our parade. The couple of designers that I know, we were all heading towards, well, let's do floats with celebrating first responders, police cars, fire trucks, and all that.
hmm
Now, when I first started designing Rose Parade floats, I think it's like 18 years now. And it's I think the idea of talking about Rose Parade on your podcast, what did you say, old timey, was
Yeah,
a
yeah,
great theme.
especially because this has been around for over 100 years, since the 1800s, right?
Right. And not a lot has changed as far as process. Because back in the 60s and 70s, I found out float designers, the float companies would present these grand, beautiful floral floats
Mhm.
to clients and say, do you want to sponsor this? Like, for instance, some years ago, there was a huge float, one of the biggest in the parade, of a whale. It had to be built on top of a bus because nothing else would support it.
Oh,
And when
wow.
this whale turned the corner onto Colorado Boulevard, the
Yeah.
tail and the head just towered over the stands. And it was just absolutely beautiful. And I remember it as a kid. And it was sponsored by an insurance company. Well, times have changed, but in the beginning, back in those days, and even beyond, before that, at the beginning of the year, we have what's called a theme draft presentation. So the
Mhm.
president will announce what his parade theme is for the year, and
Mhm.
so we have to draw what we think, what comes to mind based on that theme, and then we meet at the Tournament of Roses house in Pasadena, and then we get to pick numbers out of a hat. And
Oh,
so it's by luck who gets to present first. And it's all, we're not allowed to see what the other designers have done.
that makes sense.
And so they'll lay out all of our designs on a long table and look at them, the president and his crew, and they'll see if there are reoccurring themes or ideas in the floats.
Mm.
And so they'll call out, no more floats with, penguins on them.
Or fire trucks or something.
Yeah, or whatever it is. And so, we have to go back to our little file of other drawings and then, present other ideas.
Right.
But the difficult part now in how Rose Parade is designed is that clients dictate what they'd like to celebrate. And so
Sure.
we have to uh, change gears and make that work.
Now, the one I've seen on the internet so far from you is the Louisiana one with the gumbo.
Yes.
And that's working together because you can't make gumbo and you add all the ingredients. That's what I got out of it.
Right. And I'm glad you did because that was the theme. So thank you.
Right. Yes,
Job
working
done.
together. Right. Check that box. Well, do you find now, for those who may not know, everything has to be covered with some kind of plant material. Do
Right.
you ever take that into consideration, or is that somebody else's problem?
Nothing should have parents, is what I say.
Wait, what?
But they did. Nothing should have parents that gets that we use for the materials to cover a Rose Parade float. Mother Nature is the parent.
Okay,
They
but
did make an exception this year, and I don't know where it falls because Louisiana asked if they could use clamshells
ah,
to cover part of their float where we would find it appropriate. And the Tournament of Roses said okay.
huh.
So I thought, well, clamshells are part of a living creature, so I don't know that that counts.
Huh, interesting. Well,
Yeah,
so I wonder if that's gonna set a precedent or if it's a one-time exception or what?
yeah, I don't know, but
In
we'll make it work.
interesting.
As far as a designer for the floats, I like to leave spaces for, and as I was saying earlier, I'm part of this relay race. I'll hand off my design to the engineers who can make sure that the whole thing can be built. And then it goes to welders
Mhm.
and to our 3D modeler who will model certain aspects so it's done perfectly. And then it goes to a robotic carving, robotic arm that carves it
Oh,
out of foam, parts of it.
really?
Hmm.
Oh, wow. See, I did not know that.
And we actually won an award some years ago for bringing in this technology into the Rose Parade.
Oh, wow. Huh.
So companies like Disney or DreamWorks love it because we get their character model, 3D model programs, not programs, files for a
Yeah.
character, and we can
Ah,
model it precisely.
oh, wow. Right, 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 right. What
So, all these different people with their different talents,
mhm.
welders, painters, carpenters,
Yeah.
and the florists, we're
Right.
all
That's what I I was wondering
they take
about.
the baton.
Yeah, is do you account for, I'm gonna do this one thing, how is it gonna come into reality? Like, often for an alligator, for example, they'll use like half of Brussels sprouts, to give
Yeah,
some kind of a texture. Do you
right.
think about that when you're designing?
I don't, and I don't have to. I just have to
Gotcha.
work with to make it a great show. And sometimes part of my job is, hey, we can put a band on the float, or we can have dancers here,
Right, right.
because it's a moving show. Or worry about, maybe we can have some animation to make it the float more lively,
Mhm.
stuff like that.
Pyrotechnics.
Sometimes,
Yeah,
which
that's
are
always very
it's a lot of
exciting.
fun. So what's great about working with these floral designers is that they know what they're doing when it comes to decorating a Rose Parade float. And to go into their office is like going into an office of a mad scientist,
Oh, fun.
because they have on the wall lots of jars with different dried flowers and mixtures,
Ah.
because they have secret recipes for making, like, skin tone, for instance.
Okay. Secret
And
recipes.
yeah, they'll mix, dried coconut with dried cranberries or dried strawberries and dried mangoes, and,
Uh-huh.
and depending on the skin tone,
Right.
sometimes cinnamon, and they'll
Uh-huh.
mix it up so it's ground very fine.
Right,
So
and
it'll
powder,
go
yeah.
on very smooth to a
Nice.
character that has, a face or arms or hands.
Right.
And that's genius.
That's a whole other technology, a whole other art.
Right, it is. And one of the floral directors came. I asked him, because we did an underwater float once. That was the theme, and I
Mhm.
just saw dried mushrooms glued on the side of rock work, and it looked like underwater sea life. And it blew my mind how great that looked. And I said, "How did you come up with that?" And he said to me, "I went to the market. Well, I was high."
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. Well, it
Yeah,
worked.
creativity comes from many places.
Yes, because very often I'll see in the during decorating week after Christmas boxes of um, Brussels sprouts, like you mentioned, and bell peppers, and all kinds of fruit and veg
Right.
that gets cut up and used to cover a float.
Yeah, yeah, that tradition has been there since the beginning, so I like
Yes.
the weird challenge of it, you know? I
Uh
I
huh.
I hope that never I can't imagine it's ever gonna change, right? I
No.
mean, that's the whole point of it, right?
The difference between our Rose Parade tradition opposed to Rose Parade or floral parades in other parts of the world is our floats tend to be more conservative in design,
Really?
whereas just this last week there was a floral parade in the Netherlands where they're just over the top avant garde style floats that are
Ah,
beautiful.
oh, wow.
And sometimes they use whole heads of flowers, and they don't get into creating different textures or
Right.
colors the way we do in Pasadena with our
Huh.
parade.
So it's much more just the flowers and less grinding up things to make paint
Yeah,
essentially, right?
from what I've seen. Yeah.
Ah, interesting. Do you find any of that influential, or were you
Oh,
gonna see some of that?
absolutely. A couple of years ago, I did a float for 24-hour fitness,
Oh, yeah.
and we had a number of different sculptures of people working out and being active.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that was influenced from the avant-garde style floats that they do in
Ah.
Europe.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
All right, because I've been stalking you for several years now, and I've been watching your drawings coming out on Facebook, and I'm like, "Oh, there's John's float. Everybody stop what you're doing. Here comes another one of John's floats."
so so you're the one peeking at me from behind the rose bushes.
Yes, yes, and then
Yeah.
I do a Homer Simpson and disappear into the shrubbery later. I'm
Well,
done
there's
now.
lots of
Goodbye.
that in Pasadena.
Oh,
One of the
no.
funniest things I found when I first started designing the floats is I went out and, of course, looked at how they were being decorated, and lots of volunteers
Yes.
will be there, and taking pride in their work and gluing down seeds and beans one at a time to make very intricate and beautiful designs
Mhm.
that you really can only appreciate up close.
Well, and you get to look at them up close too
Yeah,
later.
in the float fest that happens for a couple days after the parade.
Yeah.
But so during the decoration, I would come up and see these people working for hours on such beautiful detail work, and then go off and look at some other parts of the floats or do something, and then come back. And once I came back, and I just saw all of it was destroyed,
What?
and I thought, who would do this? That's diabolical. And why would anybody be so rude to ruin somebody's work? Well, it turned out it wasn't any human being. It was birds coming down and
Ah!
having a feast.
Oh no. Oh
Yeah.
no.
And I laughed out loud. I thought, wow, of course,
Oh
this is,
no.
what do you call it? A smorgasbord
You're
for
right.
these
Yes.
birds. And I looked
It,
up and they're flying back and forth. And
oh
so now
no.
everything gets covered with plastic when somebody finishes decorating something.
Oh, gotcha. Well, I know that they're usually done inside warehouses, but the
Yeah.
birds were getting in I meant rodents, or I don't know what else would be like getting after that stuff. I never thought of that.
Well, we do have, we take care of making sure that there are no rodents
Uh-huh.
in
Lots
our float barn.
of good, good.
But very often we will create these large amounts of dried flowers and mixtures because we know we're going to need them for
Yep.
coverage. And the mice love it, so it's just we have to deal with it,
Uh,
much like we deal with the birds and the bees.
right, right.
People are It's not so often people get stung.
Oh no. Oh no. So as
Yeah.
they're putting on the floral material, now here come the bees.
Right.
Oh
Well, it
no.
depends on the weather too, because some years it'll be cold
Right.
and rainy,
Yeah.
and some flowers love that. Other years it'll be warm and sunny, and then other flowers love that. And we have to be really careful because the full fresh flowers go on at the very last minute. And
Okay.
sometimes each flower head, especially for roses, will get its own vial of water,
Wow.
and, and it'll drink it in a day.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially if it's warm and sunny, yeah. And it usually is sunny I don't has it ever I think it's rained like 2 or 3 times, not very
It
often.
No, it hasn't. It rained once some years ago, and it just happened that year I had no floats in the parade.
Ah, oh, you arranged it, I see.
Yeah. So I wasn't worried too much. Yeah, it's always sunny and we have a great time.
Yes, yes, and one of these days, I actually will get down there and take up on your offer to
Yes.
help decorate one of these floats. I've been wanting to do that, and something always, kneecaps me right at the last minute, and I can't get down there. I'm working on it, though, I'm working on it. Well, I wanna go, I assume this all happened after you were known as animator and storyboard artist, so I'm gonna go kinda
Yeah.
backwards here,
Yeah.
back doodly 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 into, Disney history of John Ramirez. Let's,
Um,
talk about that for a hot minute here.
well, let's go back even farther because when I was in high school, I was in an animation class, actually junior high.
Oh, wow.
And I got to know, because my animation teacher, Dave Master,
Mhm.
retired now, he was friends with June Foray, the voice of
Oh,
Rocky the Flying Squirrel.
yes, I love June Foray and so
Yeah.
many, Looney Tunes characters. Oh,
Right.
man. Yeah.
And she came down and saw how we were making our films back then. We had Super 8 cameras.
Oh, wow.
And in fact, she bought one of ours, Super 8 cameras and some lamps for our class so that we could do it properly. And she
Oh,
really
nice.
gave me and my friends the start because we had this great equipment to start making our animated films. And
Fantastic.
she got Chuck Jones to come down
Oh my god.
and some other animators who were either close to retirement then or had already retired. Bill Littlejohn, Bill Scott, who was a writer for J. Ward Studios,
Okay, okay.
and I think he was also the voice of Bullwinkle. But
Yeah, off the
anyways,
top of my head, yeah.
I got to know some of Disney's Nine Old Men. And so they
Nice.
were always there to look at our work and give us feedback. And that was the difference as kids being in, junior high and then high school, making our films. We wanted to be animators.
Mhm.
And we told them what would it take for us to get a job? And so they sat down with us and said, okay, your work is good, but you have to do A, B, and C, whatever it
Mhm.
was, if you really want to work in the business. And so we took them seriously, and it became part of the curriculum or the critiquing of our work by these
Hmm.
professionals. And so once other students would see how I was being critiqued, well, then they went and they changed their work too, and it changed. It
Uh-huh.
had a chain reaction effect, and so a lot of students, fellow graduates of mine, all work in the business.
Nice, because
Yeah,
of June Foray, and
yeah.
essentially. And by the way, you are right. Bill Scott is the original voice of Bullwinkle. Well
Oh,
done.
okay. Thank
I just Googled it real quick.
you. And so that was where I got my start. Now,
Nice.
I we also would make these grand open houses, but then we changed the name to studio tours,
Hmm.
where because I had two loves growing up, one was animation and one was theme park design, and so my
Ah,
cousin and I would create these great haunted houses, and then in a wagon pull kids through, and then we'd have all of these effects going on, right?
oh my goodness.
And so we wanted to do that in class. And so my teacher said, okay, go ahead and give it a try, but just do it in this one corner. So I made an animatronic parrot, and
What?
he presented my how I made my animated films. And then the next year I made an animatronic owl, and it was all out of remote control servos and stuff for a helicopter.
So wait, was a flying owl or
No,
okay, okay.
it sat on a perch,
Uh-huh.
and I made it. I decorated it so, of course, 'cause it was Disney inspired.
Uh-huh.
And instead of using these, because I had a remote control handheld thing, I forget what you
Yeah.
call it.
Yeah, well, a controller or
A
whatever, yeah.
controller, yeah. And
Yeah.
then, instead of making a helicopter go up in the air and hover left or right, I
Uh-huh.
used those servos to make my owl blink or
Uh,
raise his eyebrows or move his head back and forth or left and right, up and down, and
wow.
make him talk.
Wow.
And so that from there, it just became this huge event where all my friends and I would decorate our classrooms in different themes. One year it was dedicated to Warner Brothers cartoons. Another year it was dedicated to the villains of animation. And,
Amazing.
all of my friends and I could draw and paint and sculpt. And so
Right.
it was a phenomenal experience where we ended up having a wait of over 2 hours, and we extended it over 3 or 4 weekends. The studios were coming in, and at that time it was the golden age of animation again.
Ah,
Students were getting contracts right there,
wow.
offers to come work in the studios.
Wow.
And so, some students signed right away, others waited to see which offer was better, Warner's or DreamWorks or Disney.
Wow.
So it was a grand time for all of
And what
us.
what year was this about?
Oh, it was the early 90s.
Early 90s. So
Yeah.
what was the first show that you worked on then?
Mine was Beauty and the Beast. So by
Ah,
that time, it was the 90s, and I had already graduated. I had already worked doing theme park design. So I was coming back to this classroom because it was my own laboratory, because I had helped create this program,
mhm.
and and for years before, it was just me creating my animatronics and doing all this stuff. And over the years, other friends got involved.
So theme park design. Now
Yeah.
now that's something that flew under my radar here. So what were you doing there? And where were
Well,
you?
I was at a company called Battaglia and Associates out of Orange County,
Okay.
and I had actually applied to Disney, and the recruiter said to me I needed seasoning. Go out and
No.
get a job for another company for a year or two, and then come
Okay.
back and try again. So it happened like one, two, three. I went home. I opened up a newspaper, and I saw, when we had newspapers,
Right.
I saw an ad. Theme park designer wanted an art framer, right?
Huh.
Framing artwork. And I thought, well, I don't have experience as a designer, but I don't know anything about framing art, but I'll pretend I know what I'm doing. So I talked to the company. I called them up. They said, well, why don't you come in? And luckily for me, it was the next day, and just show us what you got. So, I had pictures of our open houses, my animatronics, all of this stuff. And I figured, well, I'm just out of fresh out of high school and a year of college. Maybe I don't know that I had a chance. But then I got home and they had called me and said, "Can you start Monday?" So
Wow.
it was a company that designed theme parks for different corporations. They had, before I got there, designed a theme park in Kuwait, and they were working on two while I was there. One in
Huh.
Singapore, and one in Korea called Lotte World, which is
Huh.
the largest indoor theme park in the world.
And it's still there?
It's still there, both of them.
All
Well, no, actually, in Singapore, that theme park has closed, and now it's just a public park.
right. Okay.
But it was a very odd park in that it was created by two brothers who created a tiger balm.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Tiger Paw.
and they had a park in Hong Kong, and then they also built one in Singapore.
Huh.
And it was concrete sculptures of Chinese old sayings, or like 12 courts of hell, or different Chinese gods.
Huh.
And to Westerners, it was very odd. I remember one setting where there was a woman breastfeeding her mother-in-law while her baby
Well,
sat on the table starving. And I guess
that is odd.
it's odd. It's an old Chinese saying, you take care of your mother-in-law first before your own child, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think even modern Chinese people look at it and think it's very odd.
Okay. So
And
did you ever get to Disney theme park?
I did design stuff for Disney parks later,
Oh, fun. Well,
but
like what? So we only have
well,
about a minute left, but I have to
oh,
know.
so I'll make it real short. I was the only cartoonist in an office full of architects, so I got to design the parades, the characters, some parts of dark rides, stuff like
Oh,
that.
wow. Oh, which
And
dark rides though? Are we talking about Disneyland?
no, we're talking about Lotte World,
All
which are
right.
very similar to the stuff we have at Disneyland. But my
Okay.
work for Disney theme parks was for parades.
Okay, gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah, in
All
Tokyo
right.
Disneyland and in Disneyland.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, so
So we
I've
may
had
have
a,
seen.
a, a lifetime of doing fun stuff.
Well, and it sounds like it bookends with the parades, right? You're still doing parade
Yes,
design.
still
So,
doing
yeah,
parades.
what a specialty and very fun thing to be
Yes,
dedicating your life to doing, right? And you still do wonderful illustrations. Anybody who is on Facebook, take a look at John's wonderful illustrations that he what are they for anything in particular?
no,
The
I do a lot just to warm up during the day. So on
Gotcha.
Instagram, you could find me too at John Ram 27. And before I have to start designing for other people, I'll just draw for fun for myself.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's common for a lot of artists to just warm up and do some little noodly sketch that's like, I've seen you do your figure drawing is amazing.
Oh,
There's
thank you.
another artist that I like quite a lot who does a lot of things with cats that to warm up,
Yeah.
and she's pretty great. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. This has been so fun, and I
It
may
was.
have
It
to
wasn't enough time.
no, it really wasn't, and I may have to get you on again at some point and talk about theme park design. Although who else could I have on? I should have someone else on, I think, too.
Oh, yeah, I know a lot of people that have great stories, and they're great storytellers.
Ooh, all right. Well, there's a
Yeah.
little teaser for my audience, possibly in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I'd love
anyway,
listening in too when you have them on. They'll be great.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. All right. Well, I'm going to let you go, and
Okay.
thanks everybody for listening, and we've got more great shows coming up, and I'll see you, or you'll hear me, and I guess next time on Willow's Vintage Homestead. Thanks everybody. Bye.